One of my least favourite parts of the filmmaking process is the constant screwing on of ND filters, and then unscrewing them, and then screwing them back on, and then unscrewing them again, also I can just screw them back on again, and then unscrew them once more. I feel like I do this 100 times per video. If I had one wish, it would be for an ND system that didn't need the constant screwing and unscrewing. You might think, what a waste of a wish. Wish for something useful like world peace. But it's my wish and I'll do what I want with it. I made a video a few months back about a VND filter that claimed it could reduce this problem by going from 1.5 stops of ND all the way up to 8 stops. The good people over at NiSi saw that video and were like, hold my beer, we have one that's even better. We have one that will solve all of your problems. Now, I'm not implying that they were drinking on the job over there or anything. Hold my beer is just an expression that the youth of today use. It's kinda like, you ain't seen nothing yet. But then again, maybe they were drunk, and their VND is nowhere near as good as their sozzled brains believe it to be. I was keen to find out. And, just so you know, I wasn't paid for this video. This is the NiSi 1 to 9 stop Swift VND Mist Kit True Colour. It comes in this nice hard case that they call the Caddy and consists of a 1 to 5 stop True Colour VND, a 4 stop ND filter, a 1/4 black mist filter, an adapter ring and a lens cap. There's also this separate UV and IR cut filter that NiSi sent over to me too. The system works by either screwing the VND or the adapter ring onto the lens and then stacking the filters on top of each other by simply, stacking them on top of each other. There's no need for screwing, everything is held in place with magnets. That's a total of 15 different combinations, as the included booklet explains. I have to say that when I opened this up, I was really impressed at just how nice everything was. I don't know why, but I just didn't expect everything to be so well made, and it feels like a lot of attention to detail has been paid to everything. It feels quality. Things I like. So over the Christmas holiday, I had family visiting and we decided to climb up Mol Fama, which means Mother Mountain in Welsh, which is a real language despite what you might think. And although I just said climb, it is really just a long walk up a steep hill. I took the Canon EOS R with me and the Swift filter to test it out in real life conditions. I normally shoot with Blackmagic cameras, but they aren't the most practical for just carrying around with you in a casual style, picking up shots where and when you can. I was also worried about the weather, and I wanted to test these filters across a whole range of different cameras. Anyway, I was right to be worried about the weather. 1 minute heavy rain, the next bright sunshine. But the filter worked really well. I couldn't see any changes in terms of colour shift, so I guess the True Colour branding is pretty accurate. There was also none of the dreaded vignetting, and I was using the Canon EOS R in the HD mode, which is full frame, so that was kinda cool. And despite it getting soaked several times on the way up to the summit, there wasn't any malfunctions. It didn't let any water in, it worked perfectly, and it was easy to wipe clean. There was also none of that dreaded X-type stuff that you can get with other filters when they start to cross-polarize. So, on the whole, it was doing a good job. Let's cut to the chase. I've used cheap VNDs and medium VNDs and very expensive VNDs, and this is by far the best system that I've found. If you have a hybrid style camera and are looking for a VND system, then I'd have no problems recommending this. For me, this is going to be my go-to VND when shooting with any sort of mirrorless camera in the future. It's great that NiSi produced this filter in a 95mm. Most companies don't make them that big, going up to sort of 85 only. This allows you to use a step-up ring to attach the filter to different size lenses and not have to buy multiple filters for each size of lens. And of course, the bigger the filter, the less chance of any vignetting. So what about using this filter with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras? Well, If you've got a 6K or a 6K Gen 2, then you're going to need some type of ND system if you want to get those shallow depth of field shots. And again, I'd highly recommend this one. Not only do you get a variable ND filter, but you can also easily attach the NiSi UV and IR cut filter. Without going into too much detail, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras can be affected quite badly by infrared light when shooting with a VND filter. You can get this change in colour, particularly with blacks becoming this sort of maroonish red colour. Using an IR cut filter can help fix that problem. I'd even say that the Swift VND system is a good match with the 6K Pro. Even though that camera has a built-in ND filter, it benefits from being able to dial in exactly the exposure you want, as well as all the other benefits you get from using this filter system, like the UV and IR cut filters or the black mist filter. I use a Metabone speed booster with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. I really like the look that you can get from this Micro Four Thirds camera and the speed booster. It's not too far short of a full frame look. However, with every VND I've tested, when using a speed booster, zoom lenses, and it is only zoom lenses, produce a very strong vignette. I'm still not 100% sure why it's only zooms, but it is, and it doesn't matter which brand of VND I use. Expensive ones, cheap ones, all produce the same result. However, they are all 85mm, so I was super keen to find out if the NiSi Swift 95mm VND could solve this problem, because it's really been annoying me. I like to use a Tamron 17 to 55mm for lots of the shots in these YouTube videos. It's just very convenient to use a zoom with that sort of focal range, particularly when you're trying to film fast. And it's a real pain that you have to keep checking it in the corners all the time to see if the image is starting to vignette. Anyway, congratulations to NiSi. They have achieved what I thought was going to be the impossible, and make a VND that doesn't cause any vignetting when using a speed booster and a zoom lens. I've tested it with all my zoom lenses and not one of them has produced any problems. Now, this is probably down to the fact that I'm using a 95mm filter on lenses that are 77mm threads and below. And there's probably also something to be said for the step-up ring I'm using, that's a single 77mm to 95mm, rather than using the multiple rings going up in smaller and smaller steps. This helps keep the filter closer to the front element of the lens and keep it out of shot. I got this one super cheap from a company called Ice. There doesn't actually seem to be many companies around that are making these things, which is kind of strange. But unfortunately, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Because as soon as you add another filter onto the lens, like the black mist, the vignetting comes back at the widest focal lengths. I must stress that this is only a problem with the combination of a speed booster, a zoom lens, and multiple filters being stacked together. I use Joel Familaro's Phantom LUTs to grade my videos. If you like the way they look and you want to use them in your future projects, follow the link in the description and use the code CHRIS15 at checkout to get 15% off your order. I'm only a small YouTube channel, but I always pride myself on telling the truth. Just ask any of my close friends, like former President Barack Obama or the Queen of England. You can't, she dead. But if she was still around, she'd totally vouch for me. I believe if you're going to do a review, you need to do just that. Actually review the product and not simply read out the spec sheet. Of course, there will be things that I miss or overlook by mistake, but it's important to you, the viewer, that I at least try and find downsides to any of these products. But in this case, I really can't find any. I could nitpick and say that the fact the 1 to 5 stop VND can only fit in the end pouches of the caddy is slightly annoying, or that I wish the little handle that would screw in would be a little bit tighter because I feel like it could unscrew itself one day and I'll lose it, which is almost exactly what happened when I was halfway up Mulvama. Fighting against the wind and the rain, trying to get the perfect shot, I looked down at my gloved hand and what is it but a tiny little shiny handle. I've screwed it in extra hard since then and it's remained in place, so maybe it was my fault for not making sure it was screwed in completely. We shall wait and see. But apart from that, I can't find anything I don't like about this filter system. Apart from the elephant in the room here with this thing. As you will have worked out by now, it isn't really a 1 to 9 stop ND filter in the truest sense of those words. It's actually a 1 to 5 stop, and then if you add the 4 stop ND on top, it becomes a 6 to 9 stop. The magnetic attachment system reduces the constant screwing and unscrewing of filters, but it doesn't stop the need to carry 2 filters everywhere to get the full range from 1 to 9. You could look at this on the one hand as a bit of a cheat in terms of what's claimed on the box, and I wouldn't say you were wrong to do that. But I will say that out of all the VNDs that I've tried, and I've tried quite a few now, this is by far the best. If you're shooting without an internal ND, then getting this filter system in the 95mm and using these step-up rings is the way to go. It just becomes so versatile at that point. I think until they change the way that VNDs are made or work, we'll be fighting against the laws of physics to get a filter that can go from 1 to 9 stops or to even 10 stops without any downsides like the old dreaded X. In the future, I'm sure someone will invent a new way of doing things, like nanoparticles floating around in the filter that change shape when an electronic current is passed through them. But for now, there's always going to be a compromise. Either you use the 2 filters to get your full range of diffusion and enjoy the constant swapping, or you live with the cross-polarization that one filter with a big range will give you. This filter system reduces these compromises in what is probably the best way you possibly can, without completely reinventing how VNDs work. It lets you get a cinematic, shallow depth of field without a color shift, and lets you easily and quickly attach other diffusion filters that can help to create a cinematic feeling to your images. But filters aren't the only way of making your footage look more cinematic. If you're interested in getting your colors closer to the industry leading camera, the Arri Alexa, then you might want to look at this video here.